What do purpose, desire, mindset, and quantum physics have in common? Well, on this next episode, Tracy Litt brings it all together and shares how understanding your inherent wholeness can open yourself up to realizing that you deserve everything you desire simply because you are, and nothing less. And when fear gets in the way, which it always does because of our beautiful biology, we get to dance with it and navigate through it. And she walks us through how to change our definition of success so we can truly be everything we want to be and have a massive impact on the students and the communities we serve. Buckle your seatbelts. This episode is a trip. And if you're ready to be your best self, grab your spot in Thrive. This 5-week course will give you the tools to shift your paradigm of success and create the pathway to live your best life, which is how we show up as our best selves. We're done with just surviving. It's time to thrive. Sign up now at empowerededucator.com/thrive. Remember all the passion and vision you had when you first went into teaching? Feeling like building young minds and creating community through your work would make a lasting impact on this world? Well, those days may feel like they're behind you now because you're exhausted, stressed, and overwhelmed and frustrated, but I'm here to tell you it doesn't have to be like this. In fact, the love of teaching never really went away, but it absolutely needs transformation. Welcome to the Take Notes podcast. I'm Jen Rafferty, former music teacher, mom of 2, and certified emotional intelligence practitioner, and I'm here to light the way for you. In order to create a generational change for our kids, we need to shift the paradigm away from the perpetual stress and overwhelm and into a life of joy and fulfillment. This is Education 2.0, where you become the priority, shift how you live your life, and how you show up both at work and at home. So take a sip of steamy morning coffee and grab your notebook. It's time to take notes. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another fantastic episode of Take Notes. I cannot wait to get this conversation started because I am here with the amazing Tracy Litt. And Tracy is a sought-after success mentor for visionary women leaders that are navigating huge paradigm shifts and elevating into the next level of themselves so they can seamlessly generate the next level of their impact, wealth, and holistic success. And she is a science and spirituality teacher, rapid transformational hypnotherapist, a best-selling author, and a TEDx speaker, and is the founder of the Lit Factor and creator of Mind Magic, which is a proven methodology that marries metacognition and spirituality, neuroscience, and quantum law to expand and elevate more quickly. And her work has served thousands of women across the globe. She has been featured in Forbes, Entrepreneur, Fast Company, Thrive Global, Success 125, and Inc.com. And her book, Worthy Human, is a #1 bestseller in spiritual growth and mindset. And she is also one of my friends. And I'm so glad that I get to share her with all of you today. So thank you so much, Tracy, for being here.
Thank you for having me. I love your face, and I'm so excited to serve your magnificent community.
Thank you. I love your face, and I am just excited I get to look at it for the next half an hour. So let's dive in, because this work truly was a game changer for me in my world and what I'm able to share with the educators that I work with. And I would love for you to explain, what is mind magic?
Yeah, it's always such a big question, right? Mind magic is an entirely new way of being, leading, and living. It is not a course. It is not a program that you checkbox. It is you being able to step into your purpose as a spiritual being, having a human experience, and come into safe, unconditionally loving community and do the healing and the growing and expanding that you deserve to do so that you can experience whatever your all is in life.
Yeah, that's it. And I want to touch on something that is really important in what you said, because we're just going to dive right in.
Let's go.
We only have half an hour, so we're going to dive right in. You use the word deserve. And that's something that I really want to expand on a lot because, especially as teachers, for those teachers who are also women, for those teachers who are also moms, feeling as if you deserve more is sometimes an obstacle in getting that growth that you want. So, how do we start? What does that mean? We deserve it.
So, we've been raised in a world and a matrix that leads us to believe that we have to earn certain things, that we have to earn our worth, that we have to earn our value, that we have to earn our enoughness, that we have to earn so that we then can validate that we deserve XYZ. And that whole paradigm is twisted. And that whole paradigm is, quite frankly, just wrong, because at the core, your birthright is your wholeness, is your inherent worth. And part and parcel to that is your deservency, which is a word we made up at Lit Factorland, right? Deservency, right? Your inherent capacity and ability to deserve, simply because you are a beautiful being listening to this podcast right now. Right? So we can leave the game of, do I deserve this? What kind of person do I have to be? Right? How many steps do I have to take? And how many things do I have to prove in order to deserve XYZ? And we can just literally just get rid of all of that and open up to the concept, which is a new concept for 99.5% of us. I deserve nothing less than everything I desire simply because I am. Period.
And that opens up everything.
Yes, because understand what we're literally interfering with when you're making your ability to receive things conditional on a fictitious fallacy of earning what you deserve. That doesn't even make sense. So then literally I'm conscious not to use the word blocking, right? But you're really putting yourself in your own way, right? We love that term, like, if I could just get out of my own way, if I could just get out of my own way. So when we open ourselves up to say, wait a second, so I just deserve it because I'm a human? Because I'm worthy because I woke up today? You know it. It's exciting, and then it becomes scary, right? It's exciting because it's like, oh shit, okay, now what? And then it's like, oh, 17 seconds later, hey fear, how you doing? Now what? Now everything. Now I have no more excuses and reasons and crutches to lean on as to why I'm not going after what I want and why I'm not getting what I want, because inherent in who I am is the fact that I deserve it.
Yes. And so we can go so many places with that. And I want to hang on to fear. We're going to put a pin in that for a second.
Yes.
And I want to just break this down into just an example, because it doesn't have to be so big. Sometimes when we think about our desires, we separate ourselves from saying, well, it's these really big, seemingly unattainable things, but we're even just talking about deserving of feeling relaxed, deserving of feeling happy, deserving of being in a working environment where you feel safe and respected, right? So can we just kind of talk through maybe one of those examples of what does it mean to just feel like you deserve those things?
Okay, so there's so many ways to go with this too. For the sake of this entire moment in time, I want to ask every beautiful being listening to just jump on my train. Okay. You can doubt it later. You can question it later. You can think the opposite later. You deserve it. That's it. Okay. So that's the lens through which we're coming here. When it comes to, like you were saying, just feeling better, like rest, right? We tend to think of, you come in to do work on yourself or you're going after your dreams, and we think of big, bold things. We think climbing Machu Picchu, right? If that's something that's in your vision, or, speaking on a massive stage, or being a best-selling author, or maybe becoming the administrator of your school, the superintendent, whatever that big thing is. That's part of it. But to your point, it's actually the things that are applicable to your inner environment that are the most important. And it's also part and parcel to how outdated the paradigm of you have to earn it to deserve it is reconsidering what success actually looks like, which we all need to do, right? Really reconsidering, like, wait a minute, what if my measure of success was I deserve rest? I love resting. I love being at ease. I love being chill. So maybe success is the hours of my day and how I spend them feeling And the fact that you deserve to feel however you want to feel. You deserve nothing less than everything you want. That's internal and external. It feels like I'm speaking Mandarin. I know, because if you're not like in on it, it feels like it's such a far cry from our society. It's such a far cry from the limited collective consciousness that we were raised in. But that's one of the reasons why we're here, you and I individually and together, doing our work in the world to help everyone awaken and recognize, like, whoa, whoa, whoa. There's a whole new way to live, lead, be, teach, right? A whole new way. And it is our divine responsibility to get on the train of that whole new way, because that's the only way that we are going to make the impact and the generational change that clearly our world is starving for. Like, unless you're living under a rock, under a bridge, you see what's happening here.
Yes, absolutely. And we all know this. And then we get stuck in, but it's so big, I don't know how to make a difference. Well, this is how we do the inner work on ourselves. And I want to touch on this thing. First of all, you do just need to get on the you deserve it train. There's no easier way to do that. You just have to accept that that's the train that we all need to be on, period. Yes. Right.
Yes.
And, when I first kind of got to know this idea of changing the definition of success, I was at your retreat Powerhouse this past spring, and I remember sitting in my chair seething, Tracy. Like, I was hot. My face was red. I was sitting in my chair feeling so angry, because not only was I personally a product of this outdated view of success, but as teachers and as educators, we are perpetuating this external idea of what success looks like. How many A's do we get? How many referrals did you get? How many check marks? How many smiles? we can just stickers, right? On the sticker chart.
It's the world of the external gold star.
Right. And we explicitly teach that in schools.
Yes.
So here I was in this workshop with you, where you were saying to me and, a room full of people, we need to change the definition of success in order for you to actually feel successful. And it blew my mind, because here as educators, we are in a position to not only teach it, but to model that. So I was mad because I felt like I've been duped. I felt like I was duped. So can you talk a little bit more about that? Because to me, that was something that really started to change the way I thought about the work that I was doing in this world.
How did it change the way you thought about the work you were doing in this world?
Because that needed to be the priority now for me, and for the messages that I would give through the work that I do.
Yes, yes, yes. It makes me emotional. And this is actually one of the reasons why I love what you're doing in the world, your work in the world. I have such a personal affinity for, because teachers, it just makes me beautifully emotional. Teachers have such an incredible position. You are in the most influential seat in the house, right? Partly because of the way we were raised, right? Think about when we're little people. Coaches, listen to your coaches. Listen to your doctor when they walk in with a white coat. Listen to your teacher. Listen to your rabbi or your priest, right? So the position you sit in, and all of you listening as educators and teachers, it's an imperative that you come inside and do the work of within, which is really what we're talking about, right? Okay, until the system wakes up and changes, which is part and parcel to your mission, which is why I'm so obsessed with it. There's so much you can do in your own ripple effect. There's so much you can do when you go within and do this work and shift your definition of success to leave behind what is an all externally driven definition, right? It's like fame, authority, amount of money, title, hierarchy. That is the current-ish collective consciousness perspective on success. And what I'm inviting everyone to look at is holistic success, which considers all parts of you, mental, emotional, physical, environmental, spiritual, all of it, and start to prioritize how you feel, how you see yourself, how you treat yourself, how safe you feel in your body, how connected you are, your ability to allow yourself to be connected, all of these things. And this is the kicker. Who you be is your biggest point of influence. So even if you're in an education environment where your pay increase is dependent on how many kids scored XYZ on the last ridiculous assessment test that they give, you still have a huge opportunity as the individual you are to do the work of you, to change the way you see the world, to raise your energetic frequency, to emit at a whole different vibration, to have an open heart, to have healed the wounds that are blocking you from feeling how you want to feel, and to really understand what it means to lead and use your center of influence in a way that creates a ripple effect that you cannot possibly imagine until you do it.
And that's the stuff that gets me too. I mean, this is it. When we go within, not only are we doing all those things for the people around us, but as you've shared with me and as I've experienced and the people I work with have experienced too, the people around them change too, because they see another way to be.
Oh my God. Let's take this super visual. I know you're visual, right? So teacher, classroom, let's say 20 kids in the class, right? The attentiveness, the outcomes, the measurable outcomes, the engagement, the social interaction of that classroom literally, scientifically must shift in accordance to the leader in training the energy in that classroom. So as the teacher, the educator, right? You are in training the energy, and co-regulating in your nervous system with everyone in that room. So you come in and you prioritize your nervous system regulation, your energetic state. You raise your level of mind, right? Now, all of a sudden, kids are a little calmer. They're a little kinder to each other. So-and-so's, grade went up on XYZ, not because they did anything like sitting and cramming and you coming over them like with authority, which is how we were taught, right? Or saying, you're not going to get recess unless XYZ. Like, it's over, you guys, it's over. We have to stop doing all the things that were done to us, right? Same thing, same result. It's not rocket science. So we have to really, really change. And that's the fun thing about being the change. And that's what I really think, like Gandhi meant, like be the change. Like you change, everything must change. And you don't have to do anything external. It's literally a byproduct of who you be.
100%. And this idea, which is the whole foundational principle of Empowered Educator, is the most generous thing you can do for your students is take care of yourself, because that's how you're going to have the impact that you want to make with the students and the communities you serve, is by changing yourself. You have to make yourself the priority.
Yeah, which then calls you to move through and shift out of generations of influence that taught you the opposite of that too. Because prioritizing self is definitely not something that we were encouraged to do, especially if you are someone who identifies as being a woman and you're a teacher. That was super, super low on the things our great-grandmothers, grandmothers, and mothers showed us. If anything, it was martyrdom. And that's what was admired. Be exhausted, be burnt out, and then have a reason to point at it and go, it's because of this, which is also a complete abdication of your power. And that's not how we roll either, right? Yeah.
100%. But that paradigm that you just explained, that is what's happening in the teaching profession, right? We see these teachers revered as being selfless. And so what it means to be a successful, good teacher is that. And what we're trying to do in this world here is to share the value of this new way and explain that that old way is not only not helping, it's completely backwards.
Yes. Well, it's backwards. It's not helping. It's unhelpful. It's unnecessary. It's unhealthy. And it's like, what other proof do you need? Hello. We're here right now in this moment in time because of all of the choices that we've made based on what we knew. And it is no discount to all of the magnificent people that came before us. I have depth of gratitude, and we know better now. We know better now in burnout research. We know better now in neuroplasticity. We know better now in the advancement of compassion. We know better now in heart math and what it means to emit certain energy into the field. We are talking about measurable, science-backed information that tells us that shame and hustle and martyrdom and guilt and overworking is harmful, detrimental, and goes directly against the outcomes that we like. That's the funky thing about it, is these ways of being disguise themselves as the way to be successful. So you keep doing them. And then once you like just pause and you go, okay, I'm going to come over here and do what you're doing for like, give us a couple months, right? And then you have all this new evidence. You're like, okay, I got it now, right? So be very aware, because our beliefs are our beliefs, right? And we become what we believe. And all of the ways of being, we will fight to the death. No, like, come on, this is what you need. If I lighten up, then I'll be lazy, then I won't get anything done. It's like, whoa, not true at all, right? So it's just very important. And that's really the place we all start with, in that awareness, right? Your awareness of yourself, your noticing of how you feel when you're doing something, your level of burnout. Do you gain personal value when you're exhausted? Do you get a little tick mark internally where you're like, yeah, I did all the things. I've got all the plates. Look. And I can say this so like with such playfulness because I was there. I'm the proof. I'm the first piece of proof before all of you beautiful women, right? I was like a judgmental, crazy, controlling, super attached, externally driven person.
Look at you now.
Look at me now. Exactly.
So one of the things that prevents us from getting there and acts as a saboteur is fear. We're going to unpin it now. So let's talk about that, because even if we're like, okay, Tracy, Jen, like we get this. I understand I am deserving of all of this because I am a human being. I understand about changing my definition of success. Great. And then, that's when the fear comes in, whether it's, a couple of seconds later or a few hours later when you start to marinate on some of these things. So what do we do about that?
Well, go watch my TED Talk. It was completely on fear. And I do mean that. Not right now. Hang with us, then go watch it after, because I really more thoroughly, right, because of the time allowed it, like I really walk you through it. But the first thing is a paradigm shift on fear itself, right? We were taught to fear. And understanding right off the bat, the fear that we're talking about in this context, and anything that I ever talk about or that you ever talk about through the lens of fear, is not the helpful kind. It's not the kind that's going to keep you alive when there's a shark fin in the water and you're sitting on the beach debating, should I take a dip? It's not the kind where you're leaving a dinner with a friend in the city and you don't go down the dark alley because you see a shadow and you take the main populated street. That is not what we're talking about, okay? The fear that we're talking about is the natural biological fear that occurs anytime you start to think about or move outside of what's comfortable and familiar to you, right? Including going from someone who does everything for everyone to no longer taking responsibility for how people respond, to going from pressurized and overwhelmed to completely chill and at ease, right? To go from never having taken a long walk to running a marathon. Like, it can be an internal or an external, it doesn't matter. Anything different than who you are, how you feel, and what feels regular for you on the day-to-day today is going to tripwire your fear response and is going to signal your whole mind and body that it is unsafe, and it's going to do everything it can to get you to stop. So it becomes this new, just like first teaching moment, like, okay, so we don't fear fear. We also don't like push through. I'm very anti the masculine, like, we'll just push through, overcome. No, that makes fear louder. What we want to do is recognize, like, fear is here doing its job. It's phenomenal. It kept you alive to listen to this fabulous podcast, right? So we want to appreciate it. Like, oh, I feel really afraid right now. That's interesting, right? Not judge it and become it, but notice my curiosity. That's super interesting. What's going on? Oh, I have that meeting with so-and-so tomorrow, and I'm really afraid to use my voice because that feels unfamiliar to me. And then as you do the work, you realize, oh, you're really afraid to use your voice because your body has a cellular traumatic memory about the time that you tried to when you were a little girl and your father squashed you like a bug and shut you down and sent you to your room. And that's where we start to have fun. And I mean that because I think growth is fun. That's where we start to have fun in kind of looking at the web of how you became who you are today, and then taking a look at, well, who do you really want to be and become, and who do you need to become to experience the vision and the version of you that you desire, right? And loving fear the whole way there. Because as you know, in all the growth you've had and the changes you've had and everything you do, it's not like, oh, I loved fear and now we're good. Right? But also, if that happened, we'd all die because our fear response would not be doing its job. We need the way we are wired. We need it. Let's love that. And then recognize you're the being that is more powerful than your mind, your body, your psyche, your subconscious, and your nervous system. And when you understand how to lead yourself, game on. You can literally experience anything you want. It's wild.
It is wild because this is the stuff that, again, I keep thinking our kids have brains too. I joke about this because, the work that I do is I work pretty exclusively with adults, right? And everything that we're talking about is applicable to these young humans who are sitting in front of us. So not only is it important that we understand and embody these practices and these concepts, but when we do, share that journey with the kids, because the kid who is being asked to do something out of their comfort zone, which is like every day, every minute of every day in school, because they're learning.
Yes.
If their nervous system, if their fear isn't acknowledged and loved and nurtured in a way that gets them to become who they want to be, whether it's do well on that test or create that thing or make that beautiful masterpiece in our class or whatever, we are again perpetuating those old ideas of push through, keep it together. There's no crying in baseball.
Totally. I mean, and we could go on for days on just the detriment to that, to their ability to be creative and innovative and find solutions. We're talking about this context of a child sitting in a learning environment, right? When your fear response is ignited, you are essentially setting your nervous system into a sympathetic state, which is the state that sets off all the alarms. It's the state when you hear about women lifting cars off babies, okay? That's what is pumping through you in various levels when you're in that fear-ignited state, which means you have no access to your brain power. You have no access to your creativity, to your solutions, to your innovation, to be able to really kind of open up and reflect and contemplate, which is like where you need to be from a nervous system state to actually access and learn and let neurons fire together. None of that is happening when you're all, It can't, because your biological wiring system is like, she's about to die. So nothing matters other than survival. And that's another thing that makes really taking this work into academia so that everybody can learn the way that I teach fear, which is why I did the TED Talk on it, right? Dear fear, it's not you, it's me. Fear's not the issue. It's your perspective of and relationship with fear that makes it a block, when in actual fact, it's a blueprint to your greatness.
Right. And by the way, the link to Tracy's TED Talk is going to be in the podcast notes. So after this, make sure you go check that out as well, because that is really exactly the way she describes fear is going to resonate so much with you. In the example that you gave about using your voice in the meeting, you're actually not able to use your voice in the way that you want to if you are not addressing your fear and your nervous system. You just can't.
No, and you can't just say, okay, I'm just going to go in there and do it. No, you're not. No, you're not. You'll clam up. You'll start to cry. Then you'll judge yourself for crying in the meeting. You're going to leave the meeting and be like, God, I only said like 17% of what I really wanted to say. And it's not because there's anything wrong with you. And it's not because you're broken or you need to be fixed. It's because when your fear is ignited, you literally don't have access to your other faculties, because your system is in a protect. She's in threat. Right? Makes so much sense. It's almost ridiculous.
Well, that's the thing, right? I mean, it's simple, But because of the way that we have been brought up, it's in the air that we breathe. That self-awareness piece without judgment is really the keys that unlock all of this other stuff. Because when we first start to awaken to this idea of I am more powerful than my systems that you were just explaining, then getting to be in that driver's seat does make anything possible.
Yeah. Which then calls you to love your fear even more because now you're going to go do the things. And it's like, what? Right?
Right. And then you start to ask, well, then what? And now what?
Uh-huh.
Like we say, oh, how good can this get?
Right.
And again, what an incredible example to give to this next generation. We have to. We have to. We have to. And I do want to touch on one other thing, which is really important. And one of my favorite topics in all of this is language, because we just take for granted the things that come out of our mouth. And for me, even before I came to this work, I was always very careful about the words that I chose. And I still had no idea what I was talking about until I got to this work. And I was like, oh, wait, there's a whole nother chapter to this story. And so I would love for you to share a little bit about how language can really be a mirror that we can see in how we're going in these directions.
Yes. And I love the way you said it because it is a mirror. It is a mirror. So the first thing I want you to know and probably write down is I am grossly underestimating the power of every word that leaves my lips. So there's two things to say about this. It was like 17 days of a class we could talk about, but right now there's two things to say about it. The words you're speaking are both giving you a direct indication of what you really believe and think, which brings an awareness again, right? When you hear yourself say certain things, it's like, I don't mean it. It's like, no, that is the language you used. That is an indication of something in your worldview, something in your belief structure, something or the way that you think about something, someone, what have you, right? So that's good because it gives us the data we need to start shifting that, raising your level of mind, etc. And the words that you speak also act as directives for then how you feel, act, behave, what your system reflects back to you and shows you. So you're both reflecting what's happening internally and then calling in what's coming towards you externally. And that, it's crazy cool.
Can you share an example of that?
Yes. Oh, my husband's driving me crazy. So if I say that, I'm holding some level of discontent toward him. And then I call you on the phone. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm happy in my marriage. I don't know what's going on. Now I'm all like building a story, right? Because words are connected to narratives, connected to story, right? It's all woven together, right? And now I'm like building the story. And then 3 days later, I call you back and I'm like, honestly, he's been even come home from work. He's not even coming over to say hello to me. Like there's no interaction. So now I'm reflecting what I've been really dealing with internally, but I'm also calling in because what's my energy focused on and what am I available for if I'm saying things like, oh, my husband's driving me crazy. Am I being open and warm then and who I be around him? Absolutely not. So then what am I seeing back? I'm seeing reflected back the byproduct of what I'm actually asking for. I'm asking for that disconnection. I'm asking for that frustration. And literally, like, you can play with this like an experiment and you will blow your own mind.
And this is, to me, is the fun stuff.
It is fun. It's all fun.
This is so fun because when you do become hyper aware of the words that you use, that is such an incredible indication of what's, again, like you said, internal, and then what's available to you on the outside, which you, again, have power in. That is your power.
Yes. At the core, you are the cause of the effect. What is happening within you is generating your lived experience every moment of every day. You are not powerless. You are not a victim. No one and no thing can make you feel anything ever. You are the source. You are the generator. You're the common denominator of whatever's going down personally or professionally. And when you're willing to accept, as in you just need to accept it because it is, and also accept it because you want to accept it, because the only way you can actually shift, change, grow, and thrive is through acceptance of what is. Now we can go somewhere. right? And the irony, which is the reason why my book is called Worthy Human, You're the Problem and the Solution, is the only way to go, okay, fine, yes, I'm the cause of the effect, not, ugh, I don't want to, right? The only way to take that depth of personal responsibility is to already be on the I'm inherently worthy train, because your not enoughness stuff will prohibit your ability to be like, yep, I'm the cause of the effect, because you don't want to take that responsibility. You're going to look at it as fault. It's going to make you believe that, oh, see, I told you I wasn't enough because I'm not doing this right. It's like, no, you don't do a growth journey through a place of being defective, from a place of needing to be fixed or broken. It's exciting. It's living into your purpose to say, yes, I'm the cause of the effect. Oh my God, I can move around some stuff internally and have a completely different lived experience. What? I mean, think right now when you have to have a parent-teacher meeting, right? And what goes on inside of you, certain kids, those kids also are gifts. The ones that activate you the most, take a look at yourself. There's a gift in there too. It's literally like everything, which is what makes me so excited, because I think the biggest piece of divine responsibility and generational change lives in academia. Because it is the masses thoroughfare of education, however you want to define that word, right? So we start to really, really get this work into academia, and academia as a collective starts to raise their conscious awareness and recognize the impact and influence you are having on kids, and we start to teach personal power. Shit. Now it's on.
That's everything. That's the stuff. Which, bringing us back to the thing that we first said, is the main primary reason that you need to prioritize yourself. That's it. This is how we do all the things.
Exactly.
And It's so exciting.
I'm with you. Like, literally why I wake up every day. Why I wake up every day, and it's on my heart, it's in my soul, it's on my mind. And it's like, okay, where else are we going to impact today? Who else needs what? Right? Who's coming on the yay, I'm the cause of the effect train? Because that's when you see everything shift. Because when you're no longer waiting on anything or anyone to change, including the very well-intended, but very antiquated academic system. So each individual being that lives in the system must start to go within and do the change, right? Because if everyone just waits for whatever that revolution is going to come, because it's not happening in one fell swoop globally, I'll tell you that, right? That's what makes you showing up for yourself to do it so imperative.
Yes, that's my vision. My vision of empowered educator schools is just that, where people individually wake up to their own personal power and start to behave accordingly and teach others in their classrooms how to find their power, even when they're 4, 5, 6 years old. Especially when they're 4, 5, 6 years old.
I'm just taking your words out of your mouth and saying it, especially when, right? When I get to sit and I'm working with beautiful women that have 3 decades, 4 decades, 5 decades on earth, I'm undoing a lot, okay? We're undoing a lot. If you're in early education in academia, you are literally working with kids before they even have a conscious mind. Hello? They are literally, until your students are about 7.5, 8 years old, they haven't developed conscious mind yet. They haven't developed, the thing you see in like 10, 11-year-old girls where they start to judge themselves. She's skinny, she's fat, she's tall, I'm blonde, she's black, I'm brown, whatever, all those things. It doesn't even occur to them because they haven't established a conscious mind yet. Right? How fun is it to be able to take a 5 or 6-year-old and teach them breathing like I teach to, my nieces, and call it something fun, like butterfly breathing. Make it really relatable. You're literally teaching them how to regulate before they even realize what you're doing, right? And it's like those small things. It's not about coming in and changing everything at once. It's literally these small things. It's the way you show up. It's the suggestion you make. It's the energy with which you show up to the conversation. It's you kneeling down on the desk. It's you recognizing open and compassionately, I have no idea what happened to that kid this morning, right? It's you not allowing yourself to step inside your sacred classroom environment without shaking it out if you need to, or screaming it out in your car, and regulating yourself and coming in knowing that you are the center of influence. I mean, that's everything.
that's where all of the change gets to happen.
Yeah.
So in this vein, and we might have touched on it already, but I have a feeling you might have more to say on this.
Oh, there's so much to say on everything.
What is the dream for the future of education?
Whew.
As wiping away the tears.
Okay. So the dream for the future of education is that we get I'm going to just say the leaders of education, whatever that means, to start by understanding that the world is starving and we start to redefine success up here first. And that in that redefinition of success, we stop the lazy river of one size fits all education. That we really, really take a look at how kids learn, what kind of curriculums we're bringing into schools, right? Being able to invest more in the arts, being able to have a mindset class as equally deemed important as math. I would argue it's more important, but I'm not delusional in what's possible. Like, we'll get there, but that's not going to happen till way after I'm dead. And to put in curriculum that's not like a club, but that is mandated curriculum that teaches consciousness and personal power so that we are really setting up our children for success. The whole thing needs an overhaul. The whole thing. There is not one thing that works the way it is. To start to remove things like detention and suspensions and have kids do trauma release work and have kids take time to contemplate, have teachers trained in compassion, in mind magic, in heart math, right? When we really look at what's going on in this world, there is just millions of people walking around with unhealed trauma that they're not aware of, just throwing shit back and forth at each other, right? And I hold the academic system in a high regard and responsible because it's the system that everybody must go through. That's the kicker about it, right? After 12th grade, whatever, do you. And college needs a whole overhaul too. But you have to go to school unless you're going to fall into homeschool, and that's not what we're talking about. So then wouldn't it be that the biggest center of influence is our government-run academic systems, and they need to wake up first, and then they need to change the whole curriculum to match that. That, to me, is success for this.
Yeah. And my hope is that in starting with the teachers who are boots on the ground right now, they are going to be the ones to move into those positions and or pass the torches to people who are going to be in those positions. So the fruits of this, you and I are never, ever going to see in this lifetime. And that's what gets me, because that's really the legacy that we get to leave behind, and we get to leave the world better than we found it.
Absolutely.
I am right there with you. Yes. Oh.
Yay. I know. It's so exciting. It's so exciting. It really is.
So how do people learn more about you and the Litt Factor and Mind Magic? Where can they go?
Come to the website because it's the hub of all things. So it's thelittfactor.com, and it's LITT with 2 T's. And it's also the Litt Factor on Instagram, which is if you're a social media person, it's a great place to hang, and then you won't miss anything.
Fantastic. And all of the links to all the things will also be in the podcast notes. Tracy, thank you so much for your time and your talents and sharing them with this audience today. It's just been spectacular.
It is truly like my honor and my gift, and I am behind you 1,000%. Let's go make it happen.
Let's do it. Yes. So if you liked today's episode, please be sure to leave a great review, and we will see you next time on Take Notes. Incredible, right? Together, we can revolutionize the face of education. It's all possible, and it's all here for you right now. Let's keep the conversation going at Empowered Educator Faculty Room on Facebook.